One of the most confusing and discouraging parts of healing from a mind-body condition, when we start to make progress and allow, is that symptoms suddenly appear to get worse. You might feel hopeful because you're starting to allow, emotions are being processed, energy is moving around your system, you've created a structure and a schedule, you're doing the emotional work, you're listening to your body, you're coming back to your body, and then you just seem to feel more symptoms. Pain intensifies, fatigue deepens, you have huge spikes, huge dips, and anxiety starts to flood in. You feel like you're going backwards. It feels like everything you're doing isn't working. Or you might find that you're not actually finding emotions. You're just doing the work, you're allowing, and you're feeling sort of nothing. You're in your body, but nothing seems to be moving. And people start to say, gosh, what if I'm stuck like this forever? What if this isn't healing at all? Perhaps I'm getting worse. Am I doing it wrong? Well, this is normal because everything has to get worse before it gets better. It's not relapse, it's not failure. As long as you're doing it repeatedly within the schedule, it's just a sign, one of the most reliable signs, in fact, that your body's beginning to change at a deep, deep level. And two things going on here. We've got flares. Flares are not setbacks, they're part of the healing process itself. There are how the body rewires, integrates and transforms, how this old energy completes its cycle, updates the program and moves through. But it means it feels worse before it gets better. And of course, we're allowing something that we have disallowed for years. So of course, it's going to feel stronger. And when we understand why this is happening, we can stop fearing it, as awful as and uncomfortable it is, because one of the very things we actually are allowing now is fear itself, but we don't need to fear the fear. And we can start recognizing symptoms and the emotions coming up for what they are. Evidence of old backlog moving forward to completion. Most of us are taught, as I've said, to believe that healing is a linear straight line type of thing. You gradually get better as you do the work. Symptoms go down, health goes up, and we steadily improve. Living systems, in all living systems, including the human body, do not work this way. They heal in cycles. They expand and they contract. They surge forward, they pause, recalibrate, and surge again. They spiral through layers of adaptation, not climb in a straight ladder. Think about building strength in a muscle. You don't get stronger during the workout. You get stronger in the recovery afterwards, when the body repairs tiny tears in the muscle fibers. That repair process often involves soreness, swelling, and fatigue. It's not a sign of damage, it's a sign that adaptation is underway. Integration, updating. The same is true for the body, the nervous system, and the emotional body. Healing happens through exposure and integration, through contact with the very things the system once avoided. And that contact will feel incredibly uncomfortable, and then the integration of what's been allowed can feel even more uncomfortable. Hence, the system flares. Your system has a sort of allergic reaction to something it once felt was dangerous, and so you get more symptoms. But it's also what allows the system to update itself and ultimately release that charge back to balance. The body has to complete what was once incomplete. And most of what drives chronic symptom illness is unfinished business. Survival responses that were thwarted and never completed, emotions that were never felt, traumas that were never fully processed. And these incomplete processes stay active beneath the surface, held in the body, held in the nervous system, shaping physiology and perception, waiting to finish. When we begin to heal, when we allow this process to naturally unfold, it brings this old material to the surface. It activates dormant pathways that were just held and frozen and are now being allowed to unthaw and reactivate. It discharges this stored energy. It replaces protective responses so that they can finish and resolve. All of this activity can show up as intensified symptoms. It is not that you're getting worse. It is that your body is finally doing what it could never do before. And if you are doing it regularly in a schedule, I can guarantee you, you are healing. No question about it. even though on days you'll feel like you're dying, okay? In the schedule, if you do it the same every day, no more, no less, it's a done deal. One of the most common reasons for flares is this surfacing of repressed emotion. As I said, we are allowing something that was once not allowed. As we explored earlier, emotions were once too overwhelming to feel at the time, do not disappear. They get turned back inwards into the body, held as unfinished impulses. They shape our tension, our posture, our hormone levels, and even our immune function. When we allow, when these conditions become safe enough, because we're signaling it's now allowed, therefore it's safe to feel, when we begin allowing what's coming into presence through symptoms rather than suppressing or fixing or calming or removing these symptoms, these impulses start to rise and move through. First of all, as raw sensation, as pain, dizziness, whatever it might be, and then the anger, the grief, the true shame. Energies that were once frozen decades ago may now be thawing and seeking expression to conclusion. This is why symptoms will spike. Pain will intensify, dizziness surges, gut flares, not random. They're the body's way of metabolizing old emotional energy. The symptom isn't just acting up, it's completing a cycle, a micro cycle. And this is why many people notice that waves of emotion often accompany flares. Tears, rage, trembling, vivid dreams, nightmares. These are not signs that you're regression. These are signs that you're processing something old, finally being digested and integrated. Another reason flares happen is neuroplastic change. When the brain and nervous system begin rewiring old patterns, when we allow the old charge to come through into consciousness, they often reactivate the old patterns first. This is how the brain learns, by revisiting and updating the old neural circuits. Think of it like a software being patched. Computer analogies are so good. The old program must be opened and activated and examined before it can be rewritten. The same is true for the neural circuits behind symptoms. When they are reactivated during healing, symptoms may briefly intensify as the energy is moved through. But this reactivation is not the pattern getting stronger, it's the first step towards it being replaced. And this is why exposure-based therapies, whether physical or emotional, often trigger temporary symptom spikes. The brain is being shown that what it once associated with danger is now not dangerous. And it may protest at first, it may create, firing old warning signals, but with repetition, lots of repetition, these signals start to quiet down as the whole system retags things as not dangerous and new pathways form. And the old energy is moved up and through, and the ego, the working model of us, updates it as, okay, it is part of us. It's also important to remember that flares are not just random noise. They are signs that this integration process is now happening. Integration means that parts of you that were once split off, memories, emotions, impulses, desires, and energies are returning now to consciousness, to the whole. And that process often stirs things up before they settle down. In trauma therapy, this is known as the healing crisis or integration storm. In somatic work, it's the discharge. You often feel it moving through your system, shaking, trembling, sweating, emotional surges. In depth psychology, it's the return of the shadow, the parts of the psyche once exiled, now reappearing as they move towards wholeness. Whatever we call it, the principle is the same. The system is reorganizing, updating, clearing the backlog. Old defensive structures are loosening, new patterns are emerging. And the turbulence you might feel is not a setback, it's the sound of the system reorganizing, rebuilding itself, and rebalancing, becoming coherent once again. It can help to think, as I said, of flares as the nervous system's, the body's, the psyche's version of muscle soreness. When you challenge a muscle, you create microscopic damage. The body responds by repairing and strengthening it. The soreness you feel is part of the repair process. It is a sign of growth, not injury. Similarly, when you challenge an entrenched neural pathway by feeling an emotion you once suppressed, by staying with a sensation you once avoided and ran away from, by gently exposing yourself to something you used to try and fix or fear, the system is stressed. It protests. Symptoms will flare. It won't like it because those flares are part of the strengthening and rewiring process. And it is sort of like the brain, the working model, the control center going, are you sure? Are you sure? Normally we push against this. We don't like it. We resist it. And you're going, no, we're staying with it. And it's just double, triple, quadruple checking that we really, really do now want to be okay with this. If we stop because of soreness, the muscle never grows. If you stop because of the flare, the nervous system never gets to complete the update. But if you understand that what's happening is fine, it's normal, and keep showing up gently throughout the flare and stick to your schedule, never doing more, never doing less, until the flares pass completely, you no longer have flares, and then you increase the schedule, you're okay with it. And what once triggered symptoms now will trigger none. And then you do more. You trigger more, you provoke more, until finally the charge is empty. One of the biggest amplifiers of suffering with flares is fear. When symptoms intensify, fear often rushes in saying, something is wrong, I'm going backwards, I'll never get better. And this is the fear we'll be having constantly presenting as thoughts in our head. And this fear goes to activate on top of what's already happened, the body's threat responses, tightening muscles, flooding stress hormones, and amplifying the very symptoms you're afraid of. And it can create a feedback loop, flare, fear, more symptoms, more fear. Breaking this loop is crucial. And the way to do this is understanding what flares are, continuing with our schedule, continuing allowing, and knowing that these are not signs of failure, our experiences, but signs of progress. And when we expect them, understand them, and meet them with allowing instead of fear or resistance, they start to lose their power. The body senses safety, and the flare passes more quickly, and you'll get better at this over the months. This is where allowing is absolutely essential. Allowing and its backup, the schedule. Because when we're in flare, as we'll later find out, we go offline because as the system is updating new information, the prefrontal cortex goes offline. It's a bit like a system update and you go all into fear. You can't override it in that same way when you could with when you're online by allowing. So just doing the same thing regardless, even though you're offline and feeling in bits, does the same thing, signals safety. You're still showing up, doing the activity day in, day out, even though you're feeling the way you do, and often having really nasty thoughts with it. So it just keeps letting it unfold day in, day out, over and over. And therefore, instead of panicking, we can just allow it. We can just get through it as best we can, do our schedule, knowing all the time this is permitting the process to conclude. And instead of catastrophizing, we remind ourselves, it's integration. It's integration. It's not meant to feel good. My body is updating myself and my brain is repatterning with this new information. The default mode network, that running pattern of the sort of center of the algorithms in your system are now updating. It's safe. It's good. We want it. And this shift in mindset alone can dramatically change how the flare feels. It's unpleasant, but we do it. And how we do that will change how long it lasts as well. Structure of the schedule, so important. It will hold us through these storms because it will feel utterly chaotic. Peaks and troughs within a strong, held routine. And the daily schedule is the most powerful safety signals that can be sent, particularly when we're offline to our body, especially during flares. Structure holds you steady. When symptoms surge, it gives your body a predictable framework and reassures the survival system that nothing dangerous has actually happened, that it's okay to feel emotions. It's okay to feel strong sensations. It's not the danger it's sensing. The danger it's sensing is just an old belief. It's an old system on alert because we haven't yet completed something. So when our symptoms spike, it's so tempting to abandon the routine. Oh, I've done too much. I better stop. I've overdone it. I'll take a day off today. To stay in bed, to cancel plans, to avoid the food, to wait for things to settle. But this reinforces the idea that the symptom is dangerous. And the nervous system learns that the flare equals collapse, and people go round and round and round, booming and busting, yo-yoing into eternity. Maintaining the schedule evenly, gently, adaptively teaches the system the opposite. I can have symptoms and still live. I can have symptoms and survive. I can have symptoms and feel like I'm dying, but it's safe. I can feel discomfort and still move forward. Over time, this rewrites the association between the symptoms and danger, and the flares become less intense over the months and less frequent. From a Jungian depth psychology perspective, flares will mark what has been repressed and is beginning to return. The parts of us we couldn't feel, younger parts that felt anger or grief, fear, instinct and life force. They didn't vanish when we pushed them into the unconscious. They bided their time, waited for the opportunity to reintegrate, and now we're giving it that opportunity. Because the conditions are right, and when our awareness deepens and we allow and show safety, they will begin to return. The return is not tidy. It will stir up chaos, symptom surge, emotional floods. The ego feels threatened, but it's not destruction. It is transformation. And Jung saw this. He had a name for it. He called it enantiodromia. It's the great correcting, the tendency of things to return to their opposites when they reach their extreme. What must be been there will literally have to swing back here. It cannot take any more one-sidedness and repression. So illness itself is this process of correcting and healing, and the breakdown is the breakthrough. Flares are part of this expression of enantiodromia. They are the body's way of metabolizing what the psyche is reclaiming. They are the turbulence of a deeper system and order emerging, and you can just allow it and know it's completely safe, even though it might feel like you're dying. So, flares are inevitable, feeling worse as you get better, inevitable. How you respond to them makes the difference between getting stuck and completely moving forward. Here are the principles. Reframe the flare. Remind yourself it's not a setback, it's a sign your system is updating, integrating something that was repressed and what was causing your symptoms. Stay present, stay in the body, do your allowing, and just anchor yourself in the now. Recognize, what is this flare trying to integrate? You might actually feel it. Oh, I'm integrating some energy there. You might even know it's fear, it's grief, it's rage. Makes it interesting, actually. And keep your daily rhythm, keep your structure, your schedule, no matter what. Because this prevents regression overall. Because remember, you're doing it like this or more, up a slinky, so to speak. Use allowing, allow everything. Allow. Let sensations unfold without trying to stop them. Let the flare integrate without trying to interfere with it. Trust that your body knows what it's doing, because by God it does. And if necessary, if it feels overwhelming, work with someone else. If you need some help from perhaps the group or the community, someone who can just remind you or support you through this process. It's completely normal. Flares are just a sign of the depth coming up, round and round and round, unfolding what was repressed and stuck. When our symptoms flare, it's easy to feel like everything is falling apart. But beneath the surface, something utterly profound is happening. Old survival energy is being released, suppressed emotion is being felt to conclusion. Fragmented parts of you are returning. Neural pathways are being rewired, and your system is reorganizing itself around a new baseline of authenticity. The flare will feel like chaos, but it's actually total order. The body's raw intelligence in motion, powerful, purposeful. And if you stay with it, stay in your schedule, stay committed, trust it, you allow it, that intelligence will carry you forward all the way to wellness. Healing is not linear. It unfolds in cycles of expansion, contraction, integration and rest, round and round, thousands of times, like a spiral. And if you see like a spiral, you keep seeming to meet the same thing over and over again. But what you don't realize is you're just one layer up. So that feeling, oh, here I am again. I was like this 2 weeks ago. No. You're meeting it and you're taking another chunk out of it, emptying more of its charge out to completion. And round we go, over and over again, until the debt's been paid off. Flares are not setbacks. They are the greatest part of the healing process. They're the sign of the processing of the old material is being updated into the operating system. Suppressed emotions often surface during flares. You will often feel highly emotional during this integration period. It's part of the natural process's completion, because that raw energy, as you allow the symptoms to come through, suddenly is doing the path that it was meant to, where energy becomes emotion, emotion becomes meaning, and now finally you'll feel absolutely terrified or really, really, really sad or absolutely angry for apparently no reason. And it's an old thing completing. Really, it's a good sign. And you might even have feelings that relate specifically to times in your history or images that pop up at the same time. And it's relating to the time you repressed that emotion. You'll suddenly have a flash. Oh, 5 years old, having my toy taken away from me. It'll pop up, unbidden, as a memory. Reactivation precedes rewiring. Old patterns will intensify briefly as they are replaced. This is normal, and fear amplifies flares. Try not to have fear about the fear, okay? Meeting them with neutrality, with allowing and curiosity, understanding that this is just, this is natural. It will break this fear symptom loop, which people often get stuck in. But of course, as the backup, you've got the schedule. If you keep doing the same thing, this will automatically challenge that. And the structure and allowing are absolutely essential. These are the greatest tools you have here. They hold you steady and signal safety during all this turbulent unfolding. So if you're experiencing a flare now and you're doing the work, know this is not the end of your progress. It is your progress. Your body's not betraying you. It is at the deepest level trying to liberate you, trying to free you, trying to unblock you and move you forward. Trust the process. Trust the body. Stay committed, stay steady, commit to your schedule. Keep showing up day after day. Keep recognizing these strong emotions. You will feel insane at times during this. And remember, this is what healing looks like.